Hey kids, join the club. Get the all-new CCXCC t-shirt made with 100% mutant power. Be like these cool kids. Get it now on dinobeast.com and chrisandersoncomics.com. Hey everybody, welcome to the Chris Claremont X-Men Comic Club. How's everybody doing? Here as always with John Coates. John, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great, Chris. Ready to get into some annual action.
Yeah, we're straying. Well, I mean, not really, but we're straying from the numbered continuity and getting a big fat king size annual with a very special guest penciler.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
I don't really know a whole lot about George Perez's work, so this is the first time I'm really looking at it very closely. Before we dig in, how indicative of it or how representational of his wider body of work is this issue, would you say?
I think there are parts of it that are very George Perez as he will become later on. He's definitely one of those artists where at some point, he reaches his full mature style, and then everything is looks like that, when he's on Teen Titans and Wonder Woman. And even as he gets into some Avengers issues before he goes and does those DC things, I think, and it's all terrific stuff. And this gives us, there are moments in this where you really feel that.
And he's kind of known for drawing big, numbers of people, right? Like numbers of characters.
Yeah. He is not afraid to jam as many characters and people into a scene as possible and detail out the wazoo.
Yeah. We're going to get some of that in here.
Yeah. I always think of Perez as he's like a more detailed John Byrne. And we already know when Byrne is really cooking, he just drops details like crazy in backgrounds and stuff. And I think Perez will take that to will ratchet that up a little bit more even.
That's interesting. So, okay. So, because I didn't get that really from this issue. It didn't feel like a more detailed John Byrne. It felt like another John Byrne in another way. And I was just wondering if that was Austin's work, because he does ink this.
Yeah, he does ink it. I think their styles are really similar.
Okay.
Byrne and Perez.
Okay.
And maybe we'll look for some points in here. I think from all the stuff I've seen and read, Perez does a little bit, I won't say better, but let's say a different job at the way he rounds forms.
I noticed Colossus is different.
Space, so they're less sort of flat.
Okay.
I know it makes sense to you.
It does make sense to me.
Yeah, and Byrne can get sometimes his figures and stuff feel a little sort of flat in space.
Yeah.
That's also kind of what happens with Jim Lee too.
Down
the road. And I think Perez does a little bit better job at, the way he rounds forms, that could be maybe he did a more classical drawing classes or something.
Sure.
Growing up, and just learn that a different way or something.
Okay.
I don't know. But
all right, let's dig in. So we're meeting a villain here who appeared in some issues of the Avengers previously, right?
Yeah, and it'll list in here, and I think this is the third time he's appeared in the Marvel U, and maybe both previous times were Avengers, or maybe one was Avengers and one was something else. But the awesome attack of Arkon,
right? And that's a Perez cover, I take it then.
Yeah, there's no signature here. I'm assuming it is. Some of the stuff like this crazy barbarian guy running in the background, gives me a few hints of like a Frank Miller kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I think it is Perez.
Okay.
Yeah. Great like scene of Cyclops blasting the shield and the rays. Just flashing off there.
Yeah, and the cross beams that come off of it, they're tilted to the side, to give it some dynamicism.
Ooh, good word. Yeah,
probably isn't even one, right?
It's a good cover, nice and gripping.
All right.
So here we go. We open up with a classic people at a newsstand getting their newspapers delivered in the morning. And if you notice, this shop right here, it's an art supply store called Burns Drafting Equipment.
Oh,
which is a nice little nod. On the corner here, and then right here, worked into the newsstand is our credits: Claremont, Perez, Austin on inks, and the standard Orzakowski, Glynis Ween, Stern, and Shooter.
Yep.
For the full team. And, they're setting out the newspapers, and this guy's funny. He's like, if you want to see something interesting, you should read those comical books.
Yeah.
And we get this lightning bolt that springs from the ground, it says, into the air.
Bolt.
Uh-huh. And from it, boom, there's our boy, Arkon the Magnificent, walking the streets again.
So yeah, I don't really know a whole lot about this character. He feels very Asgardian. But he's not, right? As we'll find out.
Yeah, he's got a really cool look to him.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, weird little helmet. And then lightning bolts, in a quiver.
Lightning bolts in his quiver, right? And he's got this lightning bolt on his shield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you'll notice like my issue, like a lot of the pages have this like weird like print, kind of overlay misprinting kind of thing going on.
Oh yeah.
Just like from the printer or something.
I'm reading it digitally and it just looks so much better printed on that paper.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And so yeah, here's Arkon, and then he's off to do what he's here to do, and he heads directly to the Avengers Mansion, where our butler Jarvis is getting the newspapers and milk that the Avengers are still having delivered directly to the front door.
Yeah, it's like the 40s in Avengers Land.
But also, the Avengers, that's a lot of like, big, jacked up guys and gals and stuff. And like 2 quarts of milk. I mean, that's going to last a day, maybe.
Yeah, that's Thor will have that for breakfast.
Yeah, right? That's like a meal.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah. So here comes Arkon, and he's like a total dick and steps on the newspaper.
Yep.
And looks down on Jarvis because he's here to see Thor.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool shot of looking over his shoulder like that down to Jarvis on the ground.
Yeah. I like how you get it sort of like shows the design of the helmet really well.
Yeah.
Like the weirdness of it. And basically Jarvis tells him, well, Thor's gone and so's everybody else is gone. So, you're kind of out of luck.
Yeah.
And Arkon doesn't like that. And so he's going to choke out Jarvis.
Spill the milk.
Yeah. There it goes. And then all of a sudden, Arkon, it gets like a mental sort of talking to from this guy, this Grand Vizier. who's asking him how his quest is going. And Arkon is kind of like, well, I can't find Thor. Our world might be doomed. And then the Vizier tells him, well, there's someone else who has that kind of power that we need. I'll let you know where she is so you can find her. Great little. I like this little, like the way they printed, like the Vizier. It's like printed. It's like green.
Yeah, they did a color hold on him.
Yeah. Great Arkon face, with the shadows and the helmet and stuff. So he dumps Jarvis, and like he doesn't know who he's going to look for, but he knows where to go. So he's going to go find her, and we get this cool energy vision image of what's going to be Storm.
Yeah, I was kind of. It didn't look like Storm at first to me. It took me a minute to figure that out. I was like, "Who is this character? This villainess looks awesome."
Yeah, it's like a lava person or something.
Yeah, very Kirby lava lady. She looks like she could be a new god, but no, it is Storm being like burned into his mind, right? So he knows who he's looking for.
Yeah. And so that's our opening part 1. So that takes us here to part 2 of our annual Rogue in the House.
Rogue in the House. She hasn't even been introduced yet.
I know, right? This is pre-Rogue.
I like the way that he handles the metal on Cyclops, and that's when you're talking about form. He's got more of a way of breaking up the lines that go either direction on him.
Oh yeah, on Colossus.
Yeah.
You can definitely see, like, you have like the roundedness of the muscle bellies is like he's working that in more.
Yeah.
And I think you get like a little bit different. It comes across a little bit like in the way Wolverine's twisting here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little bit different kind of a pose.
Yeah.
Than what Byrne would give you and stuff. But here we go. Great, a danger room scene with the X-Men, drawn by George Perez.
He's good at drawing little things too, because if you look up at that Banshee in the control room there's some details in that,
Yeah.
He made Austin break out the sanded down Hunt 102 nib.
Yeah, you get all kinds of details of the control room up here. Mm-hmm. And it's great that it's included in like one image.
Yeah.
Across the danger room, the X-Men, and then you get to see the little control booth with Banshee looking down.
Yeah.
Like that's a nice detail.
It feels like there's an evolution to the danger room here, especially with the robots and stuff. I don't really recall anything like that. It used to be just like things that would pop out of the wall and stuff. And it still does, but it's starting to change.
Yeah. And like definitely like this crazy robot in here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the X-Men have their own sentinels that they can just fight.
Yeah.
Basically.
There's another cool little touch that he does with Nightcrawler there, where he's got the tail prehensile tail wrapped around the rope while the foot is also there.
Yeah, that's great. Like you don't always get the prehensile in full use.
Yep.
So far, so that's great. And right here, a little caption at the bottom telling us this day in the X-Men here falls between issue 124 and 125, which is why you're seeing it between the videos on those two issues.
Assuming that Chris releases them in the correct order.
That's right. And so everyone's thinking like, oh, we'll take care of this robot, no problem. But of course, it's tougher than they assume. As always, And Colossus gets tossed, and then Banshee is sitting up here just smoking his pipe. And he's like the one working, helping set the test.
Yeah.
He mentions, and that he wasn't going to make it easy. And this is great where Cyclops kind of like rubs it into Colossus, like, you're not thinking. And Colossus is like, hey, I know how to fight. And he's like, no, you know how to smash. And if I wanted someone to smash, I'd get the Hulk.
I mean, it's his tagline.
Yeah. It's like, oh, good one. Good one, psych. And so here they go. Now we're looking down out of the control booth at the X-Men doing their thing, and Banshee's flipping switches, changing up stuff to get Storm, and then like tentacles to get Wolverine. Pre-Omega Red. Whoa, tentacles?
Oh, yeah.
What? And Cyclops is still trying to bark orders and stuff. Great angle up here, like upshot.
Yeah.
And with the little squiggly lines on the visor and everything. Look really good. I love how this Hostess ad, it almost looks like the next page in the comic. Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
it does. There's been more than one time that those ads have fooled me, and I'd start reading them.
Yeah.
If Spider-Man was in it, and Spider-Man was also in the issue,
Yeah, sometimes you don't know. Because Claremont might cut away to some other Marvel U character all of a sudden. He's cut away to like Luke Cage and stuff. It's like, oh, now he's going to show us something with Mr. Fantastic. I wonder how this is going to tie in.
Yeah.
And oh, well, he's buying Twinkies. That, I guess.
Yeah.
That's how that ties in. It doesn't.
Surprised they didn't make them literally put like Hostess products in the stories.
Yeah, like anytime they're always sitting down for coffee. Like it could always be like coffee and who wants a Twinkie?
Yeah.
Who
wants a pudding pie?
Yeah. They'd be like, oh no, do you got any cupcakes? Like, oh well, yes, we do. Who needs a fruit pie?
I need a ding dong.
Yeah. And here we really get this page, like Perez is really doing some work. Because Storm kind of freaks out and basically just like blows the Danger Room to hell.
Yeah.
To get out of the scrap that she was in. And like this big fan blade comes through the window, almost takes Banshee's head off. And then it wrecks the computer. And then everything just starts lashing out at once in the Danger Room.
Yeah, let's give props to Glynis Wein for separating the important things in these images. There is so much going on that just coloring when the blade goes through the window, just coloring that entire background just one flat purple was so necessary, because there's so many little things flying around in there. If you colored everything, it would just be this bleh,
Yeah, nothing would stand out. And like the important part in the story is really Banshee ducking the metal.
Yeah.
Coming at his face. And Glynis Wein is so good throughout the, these issues. Like her coloring has been just so good.
Yeah.
And stuff, like this little panel here, like the explosion. So then like Banshee's in yellow because of the light flashing.
Well, even look at look at the first panel where it's the lightning that Storm is throwing off, and then just a few little things that are closer to you or bits are like a little bit more of an orange. The only other thing that's colored are these fan blades.
Yeah.
So it brings your attention to the fact that it's about to fly through the thing on the next panel. It's really great.
Yeah, really thoughtful coloring and stuff.
Yeah.
And to be and she's doing all this, of course, pre-digital.
Mm-hmm. Doc Martin dies and
yeah,
pain in the butt.
And like, look at all the drawing that went into this, like this panel on the bottom here. You get your 5 X-Men getting harassed by danger room things. You got these spiked balls flying around. You got lasers. You got tentacles. You got explosions. Colossus is in the background here, still fighting this robot.
Yeah, he's sharpening that pencil every 3 marks.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff, man. And so now, now they're trying to shut it off. Banshee's yelling down at Cyclops, I can't shut it off because the controls are wrecked. So now what they have to do is there's a control panel on the other side of the room, and they somehow have to get to it to shut everything down. So now they're kind of working together. Cyclops frees Wolverine, and here we get a sort of fastball special with the robot. Colossus throws the robot, and then Wolverine just cuts it apart with his adamantium claws.
So cool.
And they're just gonna keep going. They get a little further, they get attacked. Go a little further, get attacked. Love this. I love this little circle Cyclops in here, yelling "X-Men scatter!"
Yeah.
And I love the coloring on that too.
Yeah.
Make it not Cyclops colors, to make it just sort of these yellow and red with orange highlights, kind of to pop it out as like this danger thing he's yelling.
What is in the background radiating from him? Is that just like mechanical shapes?
It's like weird little wavy lines. Because at first I thought it was like maybe words or something, like an alarm or something, but it's just sort of like wavy rectangles and then weird little mechanical like lines and stuff. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
And eventually Cyclops gets a shot and he hits the controller and it kills the danger room, and everyone's like, whoo, okay. And everyone's like, that was no joke, man. But then Wolverine is kind of like, he's like, man, this was my kind of fracas.
Yeah.
And like, look at how wrecked everything is. Like even the walls have cracks in them, which once again, like, who's repairing this stuff, you know?
Yeah. It's like the servant mutants that are never shown on camera. You know,
right?
It's like concrete, and like arc welder.
Yeah, right. Like, how do they never like branch that off into like a? Because they tried to do some of those comic series, right, where it's like insurance adjusters or someone who's got to come along after like a superhero fight and figure out who's responsible for payment or stuff, or and they work in like the character who like makes costumes for the heroes and villains.
Yeah.
Like those kind of stories, which are amazing. It's like, man, they should have like the guys that's the team who are like engineers who got to come fix stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is a mansion. What, these guys get up every morning and do chores like dusting the banister? I don't think so.
Well, in this panel here, like Cyclops is saying like, well, we can wait to clean up till tomorrow.
Like, it's not dinner. It's a friggin' danger room is destroyed.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. And then Storm kind of leaves away from everybody, and Cyclops chases after her. Great shot here of them in the mansion.
Yeah.
A nice new different angle, looking at through the room, sort of this library space and stuff. Yeah, always love shots of X-Men in costume, just sort of walking around the mansion,
Yep.
So great. And Storm thinks he's going to yell at her because like she caused all that damage, but he's actually is just sort of like actually just checking to see if she's okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like the sequence here too.
Yeah. Of him slowly pulling down his hood and with his eyes closed until he can get his glasses on. Really great. They have a little chat, and she's kind of worried about, like, she used to be happy in Kenya because she could help her people with her powers, but now as an X-Man, all she seems to do is fight.
Yeah.
And do we ever get to live normal lives, you know? So now, like, she's having a little bit of that sort of a crisis of conscience, kind of like a little bit like Colossus was having,
you
know, for different reasons. So now we're going to follow Storm, and she comes up into her attic space, best room in the house, full of all her plants and stuff. And here's our dude creeping on her in the skylight there. Bust in, comes down, and boom, is going to choke her.
Yeah, this dude is like, he's just trying to get help for his people, right? And he's got a funny way of going about it.
Yeah, he is heavy-handed with everything he does.
Just ask. You don't got to choke her first.
Yeah, like go to the front door and like knock and maybe ask him.
Yeah, don't beat the crap out of Jarvis. Knock over the milk.
Yeah, and he's basically like, "You're coming with me," and she's like, no."
Yeah, correct.
And so now we get this great scene of here's Banshee and Cyclops chilling downstairs. And they're kind of like, boy, Storm's like watering her plants awful hard up there.
He does a great Banshee.
Yeah. And then, of course, all of a sudden, great tall panel here. And here comes Arkon falling clear through the ceilings down into their room when Storm sort of lashed out and lightning blasted him. So
it's interesting that they chose to do the line work through the scram sound effect of the rest of the room.
Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder if, I guess it had to be on purpose, but
it had to be. Yeah, I think maybe Orzechowski's just playing with some stuff.
Yeah, you never see that, so maybe it was just like, let's try it once and see how we like it.
Yeah.
And Cyclops, he's always up to date on computer stuff and IDing people, so he's like, "Arkon, you're Arkon. I saw him on TV years ago. Like, he was here to destroy Earth, and the Avengers stopped him." And that's where we get a little happened in Avengers issue 75 and 76. So he zaps him instantly, which busts him out the window into the swimming pool. Good little Colossus armor up. Still taking the time to show him the energy before he becomes Colossus. And so now it's on, man. Colossus versus Arkon. I will vanquish you in Nyet. Great little Russian dropped in there for us.
Yep.
I love this. He's hitting off panel, and you just see his boots, like his feet,
I love that. That's great.
As he flies off of there. Ooh, brand new Star Wars toys at this point in time.
Ooh.
Wow.
Man, I don't think I even knew there was a Death Star.
Yeah, I know. Like, we got ours like sort of secondhand from one of our older sister's friends. We definitely had like a Walrus Man and like
I had all those
and
guys.
Hammerhead and Boba Fett, but
I think I had the Transporter too.
That's amazing. We had some of those like Hoth little sets.
Yeah,
like a big plastic, thing with a few little cubby holes.
Yep.
And then there was like a Yoda Hut Dagobah.
Yeah, with the quicksand.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And they always had like great little details in the plastic, but it was never like painted different. It was all just like a mouse or like some kind of creature like molded in there. And so we just like stare at that, you know, all the time, just like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Back in our day.
Yeah.
Radio controlled Jawa sand scrawler. I think I had some friends that had that.
Yeah, we'll do this.
Did not know there was a droid factory either, I don't think.
That would be amazing.
That's OG because this is before even Empire comes out.
Yeah, this is 79.
Next year is Empire.
Yeah. Ooh. So that puts us in our time and place here for our issue. And the X-Men are still trying to subdue Arkon, but he is one tough SOB. And finally he starts pulling these lightning bolts. And like he hits Colossus with one, and it kind of takes Colossus down, but then Wolverine gets in there and cuts through the shield. And it looks like maybe they're going to gain some ground a little bit, but like not really. And then like he's still hits Cyclops with one of his lightning bolts. And then he grabs a yellow lightning bolt, not a red one, and flings it, and it hits Storm. And look at this little dotted line as she just like disappears and just whoop, kind of blinks away. Interesting, like the coloring here is like blue in this one panel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and everything is beige. Everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it's on mine. It's more like a beige than a blue.
Okay.
Look how Nightcrawler uses his tail to wrap around his neck there too.
Yeah, he's like trying to hold him by like choking him out and stuff.
Yeah. I bet he was relieved when he got to that very last panel. He's like, all I have to draw is a head and some leaves and a little flash.
Yeah, like this whole scene really is like a breather for Perez until we get to, you know, before the next set piece that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so when Storm disappears, the X-Men think that she was like disintegrated or something and that she's dead. So they just flip out, and you see Nightcrawler, you know, kicking him in the face, yelling murderer. And here comes Colossus for revenge and chucks him in the pool. And then he rips out this tree. And then we get this great little two-piece here of like Arkon coming back out of the pool to knock Nightcrawler down. And then he looks up and then just gets rocked by this tree that Colossus clubs him with.
Yeah, that's a great.
Karam, yeah. Yeah, what a great panel. Kind of a weird angle.
Yep, it is. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird on so many levels because it's almost like all the X-Men are on a different plane. Because it's like it looks like you're looking down at Banshee and Cyclops, and then like Wolverine and Colossus are flat on the ground. It's very weird. And then like the way that he's holding that tree from swinging it too.
It's weird. Like I'm trying to figure out like how
it's like an upside down baseball bat. You know,
it's like the roots are like behind him or something. Like did he like flip the tree around before he swung it or something? Yeah.
Huh.
Just some wonky stuff going on, and it's amazing.
Yeah. A lot of power though, a lot of energy in it.
Yeah. And that finally kind of takes the wind out of Arkon. And Wolverine is threatening him like basically like with death. And he's like, I did my duty to save my world. I'm prepared to die. And then now Cyclops is kind of asking the questions we were asking, like, hey, why are you even here? Why'd you attack us? What do you want with Storm? Trying to get some answers. And he's not being too helpful. So they grab his lightning bolts, and Cyclops kind of figures out, well, hey, when a yellow one hit Storm, she disappeared. And he's like, I think she's still alive. And so he grabs a whole handful of them and just like socks the ground or them or something. And so they all disappear to follow Storm. And now in part 3 here, Land of Shadow, Dawn of Death.
Yeah, now we're going to get crazy.
Yeah, and this is where it starts to feel, you start to really feel the Perez of later years. Like when he's doing Wonder Woman or things like that, and he's really drawn like these huge pantheon scenes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we get this,
so many details.
Oh yeah, like just right away, this like throne room situation, and like these faces on these like pillars are kind of like demonic and stuff. And then you get all of these guys, and they are this whole Arkon's world. It's sort of Norse gaudy, but like it's like Norse adjacent kind of,
It's almost like Greek or something too.
Yeah, it's like Greek with Norse.
Yeah.
Kind of mixed together and stuff. Look at this
like
guy's shield.
Norse. Yeah. It gives me so much anxiety to look at the pillars and the ceilings like that, like having to plan all that out. I'm like, oh my God, I've got one day to draw this and get it right. And then he goes, and then he like there's a slap on top of it where he adds all these tiny minute details.
Yeah, all these little characters, they're all in armor they all have like different headdresses.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to be just doing that on the page, he can't, there's no time to design these things. He's just got to go.
Yeah, exactly. And then to give this guy this shield with this like demon dragon breathing fire.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like, holy crap. That's
and all the little demons' heads on the pillars and all that stuff. It's like, what?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Don't worry, because it gets crazier.
Yeah. Like this spread.
Double page spread. Draw it.
Of craziness here. Where the X-Men, like, they're like, oh crap, we're in the middle of this. And basically Arkon's people, attack, because he's like, warriors attack. And like, look at how cool this guy looks, right? Just right here. This like random soldier character.
Yeah, he's like a Dungeons and Dragons little Viking dwarf or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
And here come all the rest of these warriors with these weird metal kind of headdresses and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's looking at Kirby before this, but...
Mm-hmm. Great little around Cyclops here, like doing like the lines like that.
Yeah.
Like that's great. But it's easy to miss it because then you've got this middle panel that is just bonkers.
There's just so much going on, just these piles of bodies on top of each other,
Yeah. And, you got Cyclops' eye blast, like going through, to hit a guy over here, and Colossus's hand just like shoving this guy's face backwards to like keep him back. Just this pile up melee.
If this is the only comic that you have for the 4-hour road trip, you know, its value, because you can sit and look at this comic for at least that long.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the amount of drawing in this issue and stuff going on, you can just like, you could stare at it for a long time, which is great. And finally here's our Vizier, who was talking telepathically to Arkon earlier. And so he's running away. And some of the X-Men, you know, like here's the X-Men, they're still duking it out. But here's that Vizier in this tunnel here. And here we get above in the shadow creeping along. We got our little eyes and a tail here. Here's Nightcrawler following him.
The best.
Yep. The X-Men are still battling, but Wolverine finds maybe a way to get out of this room and stuff. And so Cyclops just blasts one of these pillars to kind of just like drop part of the roof in on everybody. And, you know, they're making their getaway. And finally, here comes Arkon. Like, he lifts the whole pillar, what's left of it, so they can get back out. Yeah. And, like, they're worried, like they don't want the X-Men to find Storm, you know?
Yeah.
Because we got to remember, that's what everyone's here to do.
He's really good at the extreme foreground, then middle ground, then background, then far background.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, just look at that the first panel you got there. You've got this, like, weird dog, horse, tauntaun thing's head sticking out of the side of it.
Yeah.
And that's this extreme foreground. Then you got those buildings, and then you got X-Men, and then behind that you've got this other people, and then you got behind that you've got more. It's just like so much depth.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you can, if you could zoom in, and like there's like all these little details on these little characters, and
yep,
they're like
all
so
different.
tiny printed. You
They're
know, it
different.
makes me wonder, like, he would have to just be working on a standard Marvel size page. I don't think they would let you work at anything bigger.
I mean, I wouldn't think that they would, especially since he's got to probably, I mean, I'm going to assume that everybody is in the office at this point, or at least in the New York, in Manhattan somewhere, to send these things, because you're not emailing them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, to save the cost and everything. I'm sure that it has to be standard size, and I just don't know, like, my eyes would go real quick, you know?
I mean, like, reading this issue, it almost is overwhelming on your eyes by the end of it.
Yeah. Well, that's also because it's shrunk down, but
right.
Even still, like, it's even blown up, it's hard to draw at that scale.
Uh-huh. And here's our Vizier, and he's riding one of these weird, you know, tauntaun kind of a pig thing.
Yeah, I feel like that was the one. That's probably the one in the foreground there, and is just sort of like foreshadowing or the next panel or whatever.
Yeah, and here's Nightcrawler still in the shadows. We just get his eyes. You know, he's
stalking him.
Yeah, because he's the one that that has the best hope of finding Storm by sneaking around. And we finally get to the Vizier. And he's here with this lady, and Nightcrawler is like peeking in and finally sees, here's Storm.
Yeah.
In this crazy costume with this cool, I guess, sort of scale armor deal going on.
Yeah, it feels like kind of Big Barda meets something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
They also talked previously about like how, like, is she giving you any trouble? None. She accepts her fate with the courage. But teacher, must she die? I fear so. So, she's going to be sacrificed or something. Whether she knows it or not is another story. But Nightcrawler heard this.
Yeah. And so he's like, no. Yeah. And yeah. So in this costume, so this is like, like George Perez's kind of, one chance to sort of design a Storm costume,
Yeah. And it's pretty damn cool.
For this story. Yeah. It's like really cool.
I'd hate to draw that 50 times in an issue, but doesn't seem to be a problem for him. So
yeah, and they're telling her like, "Hey, it might. What you're about to do might cost you your life," and she says, "It is my life to give." So she seems to be, in on whatever is going to happen here. Nightcrawler's like, "Heck no, man!" So he like teleports down and grabs this cape. And like he like wraps it around her head.
Yeah.
And so boom, she freaks out and like, blast him off, and then realizes afterwards, like, Nightcrawler. Oh no. Yeah, but that lightning bolt, that was his plan, because then it sends this signal, and the other X-Men from where they're at, they see it and they think that's where Storm is.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Cool Wolverine close up here.
Yeah.
Kind of almost like because of the angle, you don't get the full, the full pointy bits, but the way they flow back, it's kind of like almost like a throwback or something.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then the flat under eye.
Mm-hmm.
It's drawn differently,
Yeah. Then we get this amazing panel.
Heck yeah.
With here comes Colossus riding a dragon to grab Cyclops out of this crazy melee to go and get Storm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, totally awesome.
Wolverine's not going to be left alone.
Yeah, here he is grabbing the leg of the dragon so that he's going with him. And we get over here, and Storm is trying to tell him, like, hey, go back, my friends. But, of course, they're not quite listening because they don't really know what's going on. And, neither do we, even though we're getting to the end of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
But here we get to the crux of what the biz is. So here's, Storm on this little platform. And look at all these characters with like torches.
Yep. And that cool dark sky, like Ghostbusters style sky coming in.
Yeah. Really like thick brush, thick marker or something.
Yeah.
Strokes. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool stuff. And she's like, you don't have time. You guys got to just trust me. You got to get out of here. And they're like, well, not without you. And Arkon steps in and he's like, well, if you take her, then my world dies. And they're like, what? And so here's Arkon's little, sort of a little flashback and description of what is going on. So like his planet is circled by this like ring of kind of like lightning.
Yeah.
Instead
they have no sun.
Yeah, instead of a sun. And then, but it sort of dissipated and went away. And that's when they were battling. He got Thor to basically use his lightning to restore the ring around the planet.
Right.
So that's why when he went to Earth at the beginning of this issue, he was trying to find Thor to do the same thing. Because then they've realized that, if it goes out again, they might not be able to revive it ever.
Right.
And then the whole planet dies. So, no big deal, guys. Small thing. And yeah, here's Arkon. He's like, well, perhaps I should have asked for your help. but that's not an Empyrean's way.
Right.
So basically, you know, he's like his race. They're just like sort of like conquering, barbarian, take what we want kind of people. So he wasn't going to just come and peacefully ask for help.
Right.
That's not what he does. And so the end here, like, I got to tell you, Chris, what a crazy way to just recharge this thing. It's like the most steps you could work into a story to have somebody blast this machine.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, okay, we set this thing up here, but also like the device doesn't work. So like you get Nightcrawler and Wolverine are like, they're like somehow going to be mechanics to this weird technology, and they're trying to get it to work properly.
Yeah. I feel like these are two guys who in any other situation be like, TV's on the fritz. We'll bang it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
you know, I mean, like these two characters are like, okay, if they're like, there's like a broken down old car at the mansion, and they're just going to be out there under the hood, having some brews, tinkering with it, you know, messing with spark plug. Like, I can buy that.
Yeah.
Like, but like, I think this is like a step up in technology.
Yeah. Well, they had to have somebody do it.
Yeah. I mean, they're like Casey Jones and Donatello in the Ninja Turtle movie, you know, trying to work on the farm truck out there, making fun of each other.
Yeah.
That's Wolverine and Nightcrawler. So then, you know, step one, here's Cyclops is going to hold Storm up in the air. And so she's sort of like calling in like as much lightning as power, and Colossus is kind of acting as a ground, I guess, so it doesn't just automatically like kill everybody.
Right.
But then the plan is like she's charged up is like as much as she can. So then she zaps Cyclops because he sort of absorbs sort of solar energy and stuff to like power his blast and things. So he's kind of absorbing the energy Storm's hitting him with. And like he's almost at his limit where he can't take any more, and they're still trying to fix the machine. And now Wolverine's just sticking his claws in it.
Should have done that from the beginning.
Yeah. And he's like, hurry, guys. And it's like, well, why didn't you fix the machine before you started this? And then finally, you know, they're like, I think we got it. And, you know, Wolverine's like, Cyclops, let her rip. So then Cyclops blasts the machine with the storm lightning, and then the machine blasts into sort of...
It's like a Rube Goldberg machine.
Space, and connects to sort of their lightning ring around the planet, and voila.
Which scares the mouse, that drops the cheese, that flips the iron.
Uh-huh. Exactly. And boom, now the Ring of Fire has returned, and everyone on the planet's like, hooray! We will live. And again, like these like little panels here, and like look at
it's just
like
insane.
fills it up 100% with characters.
You could have gone in closer, you know?
Yeah.
You could have had like 5 people and then some outlines or some, you know, silhouettes.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got like a mental calculation, like in his mind already, where he's like, I've got how many hours left before I have to do the next page to stay on schedule. Therefore, I can make the characters how many can I squeeze into that amount of time? Like I need to get as many as possible. And so he knows like, okay, I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can do like 8 rows deep.
It's
I have a half hour. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's an annual. He probably had like some time to do it.
Yeah. But you never know, whatever his other Marvel duties are at this time, he
Well,
might
yeah,
be,
because he's only going to be getting this page rate he'd be getting for a regular comic, so you've got to factor that in.
Yeah, and I think this could be around the time where he starts to do some Avengers issues. And I'm sure he did like a bunch of other stuff for Marvel too. Because it's like, years before he ends up over doing Teen Titans and stuff.
Yeah.
And so here's back. Our other sort of soldiers are riding these crazy cool horse dragons.
Yep.
To go find Arkon and those guys. And the sort of mountaintop where they were doing all their stuff from is just like destroyed. And it looks like it's just bodies everywhere. And they come to find Arkon, but he's not dead. And they're like, "Oh, you live!" And like, it's like, "Hey, everybody's still alive, just barely."
Wow, imagine that.
Yeah, it's a miracle. It's a miracle.
Now, check these outfits out. I can't believe that this is we only get a minor glimpse of these super awesome Studley outfits that Wolverine and Scott and
yeah, right. And like Colossus has got this like He-Man type harness going on.
Yeah, and Scott is wearing like Colossus's outfit.
Yeah, it looks a lot like that, right?
Yeah. And then Wolverine is wearing like a crop top. Crop top tank top. And some
those guys
shorts.
They're like so hairy too,
Yeah.
Like Wolverine's crazy hairy. Cyclops has always got the hairy chest.
Yeah. And Wolverine's got some banana hammock shorts, but some thigh high boots.
Yeah, that's the Imperium casual style, I guess.
Heck yeah. When in Imperia, remember it's called.
Yeah. And they're like on this platform way above the city, which is full of people, as everyone, out rejoicing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the X-Men are always look interesting when they are putting like these weird alien duds, on different planets or different worlds or something all of a sudden. Yeah. And, Arkon is trying to ask him like, hey, if you guys stay, you're pretty good fighters. We could go conquer all kinds of places.
Oh yeah.
Sounds
awesome. Wolverine might stay.
Yeah.
But we know Storm has been wrestling with that anyway.
And they decide like, nah, let's just, send us out of here. And so he grabs his yellow bolts and just zaps them and saying, hey, farewell, my friends, until we meet again.
Yep. And then Rom crash lands on Earth.
Yeah. Into our ROM crossover here. And that is the end of the whole way through this issue. It strikes me as like this Arkon's world is like so cool as a setting. It's this sort of fantasy sci-fi thing, where they're these sort of a mix of Norse gods but kind of Greek-like, and then they got these dragons they're riding around and stuff. And the way Perez draws it, like the weird details he puts in, super cool. Like wow, it'd be great to see more full issues just take place there.
It feels like an amalgamation of a bunch of different Marvel worlds and stories kind of just thrown into one place, like almost it doesn't even feel like Marvel because it is so Marvel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you, yeah, so yeah, what do you think of your this sort of George Perez step in issue here?
Yeah, it's a delight to see the madness that he brings to it. The little tiny details was what I was all about for this issue. It's just like a one-off little side quest on another planet, but it was it was a lot of fun to be introduced to these weird characters, and yeah, you do kind of want to know more about these characters too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like they could have spent more time on that world, less time in the danger room. Cause like that's a big sequence,
Yeah,
but there's enough pages in this sucker. Like you get to all of it eventually anyways.
brevity is not something that Claremont is known for, so you had to have that much danger room stuff going on.
Yeah. And it was, a little more interesting than a few of the other danger room scenes that have come up. Because
Yeah,
the danger room, like you said, it seems to be a little different here. The robotics, some different angles we got to see.
and they got to rebuild it now, don't they? So
Yeah, it should be out of action for many issues.
meanwhile, in the next issue of X-Men,
Yeah, they're training out back because the danger room was destroyed.
yeah,
See annual number 3.
no, this is a great one. This was a fun little interlude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Cool. All right, well, that is X-Men King Size Annual number 3. It's not even Uncanny X-Men, is it? It's just X-Men.
yeah. Couldn't even fit it on the cover.
Cool. Well, next week we'll be back with issue 125 of Uncanny X-Men.
That's right.
Back with Byrne and well, in the recording order that we did this, I can't pull up in my brain what 125 is about, but I guess you're just going to have to find an issue and come back and check it out with us. So yeah, anything else that you want to say about this one, John?
No, it's an interesting little adventure spun right in sort of the middle of a couple issues, and great little having Arkon in here is like a nice little character drop in,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's a weird one. I had never heard of him before.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, I guess there's nothing left to say this week, but stay excellent.
That's right, guys.
Later.
Catch you later.
Check out DinoBeast.com for all things John Coates like Dino Beast, Ninja 4, M.L.F, Berserker, and more. ChrisAndersonComics.com is where it's at for books like Chaotic Neutral, Spectral, A Showcase of Fear, Lost Angels, and more, plus apparel and original art. Also a link to Patreon where you can read Three-Headed Pigman now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. We'll see you next time on the Chris Claremont X-Men Comic Club.